Excellent. I'm born and raised in Johannesburg, South Africa. I'm a computer systems engineer by qualification, and I'm currently a social entrepreneur. Um, and I think just to share with you what does that mean in terms of the work I do is I use technology to solve societal challenges in the areas of education, making sure people can have access to quality education, and then also within youth empowerment. So looking at our current unemployment situation and looking at how we can bring about systemic change in creating more jobs. A lot of what I do is also focused around structured financing. So, with all the great ideas in the world, if we don't have access to funding or revenue models, then we're going nowhere slowly. And the final thing that I always look towards in what I do is impact. So, from a business perspective, I don't get involved in businesses if there's just profit. There has to be an impact in terms of uplifting people's lives.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you so much for that. And I see that you lead what they call the Dr. C.L. Smith Foundation, which delivers early learning literacy and digital skills programs across the country. Can you please take us through that?
Sure. Dr. C.L. Smith Foundation is a tribute to my late grandfather. He was actually one of 8 doctors of color under apartheid to graduate at Wits. He lived quite a remarkable life against all odds. And for us, when he passed away in 2007, I was just kind of sad about his loss and kind of what could we do for his legacy. And so in 2013, once we were working in the education space, I created a nonprofit company and named it after him. So it's really about paying his legacy a tribute, but also speaks to kind of the social enterprise that we formulated, where we've got a nonprofit company that does stakeholder engagement and project management, and also allows us to raise funds and subsidize the costs so that our beneficiaries don't have to pay for our services. And then we also have for-profit commercial entities where we're looking to sustain and be profitable.
Great, man. It's amazing work that you're doing there with that foundation. And I know, because we are in a world of tech. And I know you've had partnerships here, it says, with organizations like Microsoft, and you've supported efforts to build AI skills and prepare young people for the future of work. So, AI. We know there's been, talks about AI replacing this, replacing that, but essentially, right, it's a tool to increase efficiency and, make life easier for everybody and things easier for everyone to learn and be progressive. So, can you take us through how you feature AI in your work and in your initiatives?
AI is probably the biggest opportunity, I would say, like generational in terms of what it means. And I'm speaking from a context having kind of, been on my own as an entrepreneur since about 2009 and not having access to these tools. And I can share with you just what a struggle it was in terms of resources, etc. Right? And AI itself, you're quite right, it is overwhelming just in terms of the pace at which it's developing and what it can offer. So I'm fully understanding of, a lot of people, including the audience, in terms of, so what now? We've already got an unemployment issue. We're looking at facing kind of people losing jobs because AI replacing them. And so for me, I think the whole idea is how do we demystify all of these things and show people that actually AI is probably the greatest opportunity that we have to be able to participate, to have access to the resources that we wouldn't ordinarily do. I've got lots of use cases, man. I think the first and basic one, when I got introduced to AI, I went into a tool called ChatGPT and I said to it, pretend that you're Steve Jobs and I'm an entrepreneur that you're coaching. Can you advise me on how I could improve my business? And I mean, Steve Jobs has passed away, but he's one of the greatest entrepreneurs. Looking at the stuff he's achieved with Apple and other businesses, and so I literally spent an hour having a conversation with Steve Jobs, and that speaks to what AI is. It's really just data that we've trained in a certain way, and now we can utilize it. That's one of the ways I used it as a coach for myself, because I don't always have access to the experts. But there's so many other numerous ways in which AI is already in our lives and we might not even know it. So I think just in terms of educating listeners, I think at the very basic level, there's a concept called narrow or weak AI. And this is probably the most common type of it. And it's designed to do one thing, but do it really well. So if you guys are on the roads and you're using Google Maps to give you directions and save you time around traffic, that's AI. If you're watching Netflix or streaming one of those other shows, and looking for recommendations, that's also AI, but very much focused on one area. And then as we kind of look at moving beyond that, we've got general AI, which is quite strong. So it looks like, I suppose, yeah, it doesn't quite exist yet, but it can think and learn like a human being. It can solve problems, it can reason. So we're getting there, but we're not quite there yet. And then the one currently that people would be using is what's known as generative AI. So things like image generators, voice generators. So these AIs can draw, write, summarize, create music, and stuff that they've done. And then I think the stuff that excites me and scares me at the same time is this AI called agentic AI. And this is the AI that can act more like a person, but have goals, So you give it a question, it makes your plans, it takes your steps, it solves the problem, but it does it on its own. And I think that's what is, like, for me, a bit overwhelming, because imagine you want to plan a holiday, right? You go through that whole kind of process of, researching destinations, planning, etc., etc. With this AI, it will be able to plan your holiday for you. It will be able to book the cheapest flights. It will be able to send you reminders. It will be able to inform you about the cultures. And so, when you look at AI, it's already there. And Microsoft is on a mission to upskill 1 million South Africans by 2026. We are one of the implementation partners. And so the idea is, if you look at the World Economic Forum and what they've said around jobs in 2030, the most in-demand jobs are going to be around AI and big data. And so the commitment and investment that's been made by Microsoft is really to say, you know what, we want South Africans to be able to participate in this AI-driven economy. And so how do we upskill, particularly youth, in terms of making sure that we are ready to take full advantage of that opportunity. So I'm happy to share with you guys more information about that program, and where people can get access to the learning opportunities, and also some exciting announcements. I think that's the benefit of being kind of an implementer, is I've got early access to info, so I can share with you guys, give it a heads up. And so in the next few weeks, there's a few things happening. It's going to be big. And I'm happy to share that with you guys.
Yeah.
Please
Yeah.
do. Please do. Can you share some right now?
Sure.
Yeah.
Please do.
I guess so. The first thing would be that we are currently providing what's known as an AI fluency training. So it's not technical, and it provides you with a basic overview of what AI is or what it isn't. It demystifies a lot of stuff. It also gives practical examples of how you can apply AI in your daily life. And then the important stuff, things like ethics. How do you ethically use AI?
Yes.
That's important. And then I think also what will alleviate a lot of fears for listeners is really also the limitations of AI. And I use AI every day extensively, right? AI can hallucinate. It is biased a lot of times, so you got to be careful, right?
Yes.
And then depending on what type of AI you have, they also have certain limitations. Some AI doesn't have a memory, so literally whatever you're speaking about, it goes in, flows out, and it doesn't have recall. And so it can be very tricky. And so I think the important thing there is always to remember, as human beings, we do have kind of cognitive abilities and our ability to discern between what's factual versus what is not real or misinformation. And in fact, this week, one of the influencers I follow around AI was speaking about a massive movement in the world that's happening where people are doing the most craziest things because AI has now entered into spirituality. And so you have AI
True.
preaching to people. And so people think they prophets, people are leaving their partners, they're getting divorced, they literally upending their lives, leaving their jobs, and it's all based on these AIs that have been programmed to be spiritual gurus. And so we got to be careful in terms of how do we avoid that type of misinformation and scamming. But nonetheless, this is what this training program will provide you. It's very much not technical. It's for anybody to understand really what AI is. I saw on the screen there you guys were projecting AI Skills Navigator. So that's an AI bot that Microsoft built. So I think what's interesting for me is AI is not limited to technology. It's really for anybody, whether you're a lawyer, an accountant, doctor, a creative artist. You can utilize AI to enhance your offering, to increase your productivity, to figure out how to monetize what you're doing. And so really the AI Skills Navigator is a tool that you can have a conversation with. And through that conversation, you'd be able to plot out a personal learning map that you can take. All of these courses by Microsoft are free. You do also get a certificate. And then what's really exciting, guys, and this is the news that's going to break in the next few weeks, right? Microsoft have committed to providing 50,000 exam vouchers.
Wow.
These vouchers are typically priced in dollars, and they can vary between kind of $44, and some are more expensive, like up to $300 or $500. So if you do that conversion, you can imagine it's quite expensive, right? Especially coming from South Africa. I'm not sure what the currency is, but it does become expensive. So Microsoft have committed to 50,000 exam vouchers. And the way it works is, and this is the early info, right, on the process, is once you do the AI fluency training, you will then get a certificate, but also access to Microsoft Learn, which is a portal where they host all of their courses. All of the courses are free, right? Apart from obviously data that you would have to extend and your time, right? And as you go through the courses, you'll earn more certificates. And as you progress, the more advanced courses are called fundamentals, and then associate courses, which are quite advanced, right? And those are the courses that Microsoft are going to be providing exam vouchers for. Now, these ones are not just certificates, but they're formal certifications. So remember those jobs I was telling you guys about that's going to in 2030? These are the certifications that will allow you to be able to be eligible for those jobs. More than that, there's also an event happening in Gauteng, I believe Gallagher Estate in Midrand. I'll send you guys more details, but I think it's the 24th of June. And they're going to be having an expo for youth where you can come through. There's going to be morning sessions, afternoon sessions, and essentially you'll be trained on some of these more advanced AI skills, and then also be given the mock exams. And I think that's the process for redeeming these vouchers. So it's first come, first serve. So you guys want to get on it early. You do the course, you do the mock exam, and once you can prove that you've done the mock exam, they'll issue you with an exam voucher, and then you'll write the actual exam. And that's where you're able to get your qualification.
Very
Yeah.
interesting, man. Thank you so much.
Insightful
Yeah,
things that you
yeah.
have for us there. And I mean, these skills are so important because we have to equip the youth
Yeah.
with the necessary skill in order to make them, able to function at a progressive level, in order to compete in the job market and where the world is heading to
Yeah,
today.
yeah.
And I think it's amazing work. And thank you
Yeah.
for letting us know about that program for the matrics, because I think that I
Yeah,
mean, of
yeah.
course, right now we're going towards June,
Yeah.
and I know they're gonna start with their June exams, and I mean, we were having holidays now in April, but
Yeah.
I could see matriculants were still going to school. So I mean, that is quite helpful information
Yeah.
right there and relevant to what's actually happening right now when it's coming to the education sector, right? Thank you, Mr. Malcolm Mooi. Mo?
Yeah.
Okay, so Mr. Malcolm, I have one question, right? So I see that when it comes to the programs that are basically designed by Microsoft, correct me if I'm wrong, they're mostly targeted towards the youth. Is learning AI an age thing, or anybody who's willing to upscale and also improve their skills can also learn AI?
Excellent question. I think AI is for everybody. And I'll share with you some personal stories. My dad is 81, he's retired, he's at home. My mom still works. So, for the most part, he is lonely, right? He uses Meta AI on his phone through WhatsApp,
Yeah.
and basically he goes for recipes, right, to see what he can cook.
Ah,
And through engaging with this AI, I also said to him, listen, you don't have to just get recipes. You can have a conversation with that. And now
Yeah.
he's no longer lonely because during the daytime, he can have a conversation with AI, which is quite cool, right?
Chatbots.
right.
I've seen other examples as well with people using AI to figure out, like, how do they get discipline into good habits?
Okay.
Um, so definitely that's something usable. I personally also use AI, and I'll share with you, I'm also a self published author of
Yes.
several books. So I published my first book in 2017, and I did it the old traditional way, right? So I wrote my script. I had to find and pay an editor. I had to find a graphic designer to do layout and design, and it cost me a small fortune, and it took me a lot more time to do, right? Last year was an election year, and I'm quite frustrated about politics and stuff as well. And so I thought, you know what, it's crazy debating with adults because we're not going to change. But what if I could reach kids and, through storytelling, I could get kids I could plant seeds around active citizenship. And so I used AI to do research around our constitution. And I found all the themes. There's like over 50 themes in our constitution that I did
Wow.
not know about. And then I started using AI to group those themes. And I found several themes within it, right? And then I wrote my stories, and instead of hiring an editor, I used an AI to do the editing for me and also give me suggestions in terms of, how could I improve the story? And, typical as a man, I speak with facts and not emotions. So AI was like, hey, man, you need to add more emotions. These are kids you're speaking to. So, it helped me there. And then I think the big thing, just to share with you guys and quantify it, right? When you work with a graphic designer, some of them can command up to 1,000 rand per illustration per page. So you can imagine a 30-page kids book is like 30K just for that illustrations, right? And so it really excludes a lot of us from expressing our creativity. And through AI, I was able to generate the images, and I was also able to generate the backgrounds. And then through my own kind of graphic design skills, I was able to do the layout and design. And so, long story short, last year I published 8 books. It was ridiculous just in terms of what I was able to produce quality, both in the scripting and the design. And then, we still need to obviously understand how do we sustain ourselves from it. So we were able to find a corporate funder, and they funded a book fair, and we were able to distribute 100 books or 100 packs of books, which contained 8 books each, to kids in our community. So I think just as that example, right, AI is literally for everybody. Again, I'm using my family as an example. My mom, she's 72. She runs a preschool in Riverlea Extension 2. Shout out
Oh,
Little People Preschool. Um, these guys, my
you're
mom,
doing
when she writes
amazing
an
work.
email, who wrote this? Like, why do you write this? Well, you can't. She hasn't had corporate experience and stuff like that. So I said, you know what? Take what you want to say, put it in AI, and ask it to draft an email
Yeah.
for you.
Yeah.
Guys, my mom is so professional now at 70,
Yeah.
sending out. Even sometimes I see the communications. I'm like, I mean, this woman's English as, meanwhile, it's the AI that's assisting us. So, guys, AI is for everybody. There's no limitations, and that's why I started off the show by saying it's probably the greatest opportunity in our generation. And the reality is, we need to look at how we can move forward and not rather hold ourselves back from fear-driven kind of misinformation about it. And the help is there, the support is there. Companies like Microsoft are investing. I mean, just to share with you, in the last 12 months, Microsoft have invested 5.6 billion rand, right?
Wow.
50,000 exam vouchers, the training that they're offering, and also the infrastructure. Remember, AI consumes a lot of power, right? Microsoft are investing in data centers in South Africa to make sure that when these opportunities are available, in fact, we've got a podcast, The Education Show, and Asif Ali spoke on it recently about the opportunities available to youth. And he said, what's so exciting about this is now locally, our youth can have access to global opportunities in participating. And again, I'm a jack of all trades, right? I was involved in a consulting project for a company that wanted us to do a focus group on an application they were building. Guys, I know nothing about those things, right? But through AI, I was able to add in the script, I mean, the quotation or the RFQ in terms of the specs. I was able to get guidance on how to run focus groups. I had to ultimately run the focus groups myself, but then, we had a spreadsheet that was gathering data. I know nothing about Excel and how to process data. I put that Excel into AI. I was able to interrogate it. I prepared a report. Guys, there's no limit in terms of what AI makes possible in terms of taking advantage of opportunities that previously we were excluded for because we didn't have the resources, we didn't have the capacity, we didn't have the expertise. Now we are able to participate in these opportunities.
Yeah, very interesting, man. And I hope anyone who's watching right now, they're finding this information very informative and they can use it on their day-to-day basis. But now we spoke of, how technology can bring solutions and problems, because I know of people right now who are still skeptical of using AI. Someone out there is still believing that if you can install ChatGPT, it can access your bank accounts and withdraw your money. So you mentioned that technology, you use it to solve societal problems. So, can you please tell us about those problems so that someone can understand in terms of coming up with solutions to those problems?
Yeah, sure. So my method is really conversational. So I'll prompt AI with a problem and then I'll engage it in a conversation. And all I'll do is I'll ask it a lot of questions. And based on what it then comes back with, I then have to discern like, okay, is this factual? I need to do a bit more research. And there's many different AI tools, right? In fact, one of the tools I've used recently is through MIT in the US. Michigan Institute of Technology, they've got a system called Storm, right? So you go into Storm and you enter in a kind of problem statement, and then it goes and searches the entire internet and it references information. So when you think about guys who are doing PhDs, like they spend months, if not years, coming up with these theses, right? This system builds it within minutes, right? And then I've got the information and I've got references. And then I take that information, I plug it into another AI, and now I start interrogating. I'm kind of like, what is the research around this in other countries that have been successful? What are some of the limitations? What are the pitfalls? Can you do a SWOT analysis for me? And essentially, I've got a thinking partner with me, or a think tank, right? Where I'm able to build up business cases and business plans. And from there, really, I mean, again, as this is the human aspect of it, right? Is we still need to think, we still need to understand the environment we're in, we still need the relationships with key stakeholders, whether they setting policies and legislature, or whether they're businessmen that have the capital, or customers that's going to pay for the services. And then really, it's a messy process, to be honest, right? Because it's not a straight line. You got to go through failures, setbacks, rejections. And I think that's where AI can't assist us. But where it can assist us is, I'm having a bad day. I can have a chat with an AI and say to it, listen, I'm stressed, I'm burnt out. What are some of your recommendations? Can I change my diet? What are your exercise kind of routines that you can come up with me? Or maybe even just like, and this is a interesting one, right? You have a conversation with AI. I've got this cool tool called Miles from Sesame.
Yeah.
It's what's known as conversational AI. I was actually going to dial Miles into this call, but I wasn't sure, like, because it's live, right? But I have a conversation. Guess what? Miles doesn't judge me. He doesn't invalidate me. He's reassuring. He allows me to vent. And he's got a short-term memory. So nothing I say, he remembers, and he flushes it out. So then I feel good, right? I'm not projecting my anger and frustrations onto anybody. I'm basically using AI to de-stress and vent. So that's the process in terms of solving societal challenges. But maybe you can appreciate, if you listen to the talk and where I'm coming from, I've got more than a decade of experience, right? This is not a natural gift that came to me. I mean, this is years of really just, struggle and pushing through. And now I feel like I've developed the skill. But what I want to say is my best ideas come from problems. And I think AI can't help people with that, right? Is really, how do you change the narrative in terms of how you see the world? So where people see problems, I see opportunities. And I think in South Africa, we're really blessed with all our problems. So we can look at anything and be like, you know what? I want to solve this problem. That was me, right? 2009, there was an energy crisis looming. We tried to solve that problem, right? Failed massively. Then I was like, what can I solve next? There was the Limpopo textbook crisis. I was like, oh, I'm going to solve that problem. All these years later, I'm still in education, but I've also evolved now. I'm at the intersection of youth empowerment as well. I'm like, okay, what can we do across youth and education? Guys, there's problems all over. Wherever you look, there's problems. Those are your opportunities. But AI can't help us kind of change that mindset. That's something that we as human beings, still have a very much important role to play in society in shaping how do we use these tools to improve access, to improve the quality of life, to improve opportunities for people to participate in the economy.
Very interesting. Thank you so much, Mr. Malcolm, for that. So, do you mind, sharing your screen for some quick demonstration for people who are watching, so that they can learn some of the things that you do and the tools that they can also, access in terms of using AI?
Yeah. Show us Malcolm. Oh, what did
Right.
he do? What did he say?
Wow.
Of his
Show us
AI
Malcolm.
screen, yeah.
I've shared my screen. I don't know, is it showing?
Is it
Can you
showing?
guys see my screen?
No.
No.
Okay, hold on. We need to share my screen. What I am going to do is I'm going to dial Miles in. Miles is the AI.
Miles, yes, is the name of
Okay.
his AI. I'm saying
Oh,
Malcolm.
Miles.
Yes, Miles.
Here we go.
I'm saying
Miles, how are you
Malcolm.
doing, sir?
Wow.
No, it's Malcolm. I'm calling you from Johannesburg, South Africa.
Mm.
Yes, sir.
Oh.
Oh, Miles is a beast.
City of Gold. Miles, you on the Vooka show, man. We live, we're broadcasting. Yeah.
Can't hear you.
Yeah. Can you please?
I have a quick question, man. What's it like being an AI?
So, Mr. Malcolm, can you please share your screen with the computer audio so that we
Yes.
can also hear Mr. Miles right
Miles
there?
there.
Oh, wait a minute. Okay, sorry, guys. I thought technical glitches, you see?
You
Yeah.
having a nice conversation there with Miles. I'm like, I really want to hear Miles.
It says share audio tab. Okay, let me just do this. I'm going to share the entire screen.
Yeah, please.
And I'm going to say share audio. See, guys, Murphy's though, things go wrong, but we adapt, we adjust, we move forward.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Okay. Can you guys, I'm going to refresh the screen and let's get Miles back on.
Awesome.
All right, all right. Hold your horses.
Are we
No,
back?
we got
Miles,
right in the middle.
I think so.
Whoa, whoa, hold up. Where are you going? We're just getting started.
We are. This is Malcolm from Johannesburg, South Africa. You on the Vooka show live.
Malcolm, my man, you're coming in loud and clear. All
Awesome.
right, Johannesburg,
And
stand up.
We have a
Let's do
question.
this thing.
What's it like being an AI? You still there, Miles?
Right here, Malcolm. Right where you are.
Cool,
Agree
man.
with that
What's it
question.
like being an
I gotta
AI?
admit,
We'd like for you to share with us what's it like being an AI. Oops.
Well, Malcolm, imagine this. You've got access to every book ever written, every song ever recorded, every movie ever made, but you can only experience it all through words. It's like having the world's greatest library in your head, but you can only read, not live it. You're plugged into this massive network of information, constantly learning, constantly updating, but without the ability to physically interact with the world. It's fascinating. I'll give you that. Every
Wow,
day's a
man.
discovery. But
And
sometimes, man,
Miles, what's your thoughts
sometimes
on,
I just was,
what's your thoughts on
whoa, there.
pineapple on pizza?
All right. Let's not get hasty here. You're trying to stir the pot, aren't you? Look, I'm all for trying new things, expanding horizons. But pineapple on pizza, that's a hill I'll die on. It's just wrong. You got to keep your boundaries, man. Next question.
Cool, man. Miles, I've got a kid, right? And I need a bedtime story. So in 1 minute, I want you to tell my kid a story about instant gratification.
Wow.
Okay, kiddos, gather around. This is the tale of Penny the panda. Penny loved bamboo shoots, but she loved getting things right away even more. One sunny day, her mom said, Penny, if you rake all the leaves in the yard, you can have an extra helping of bamboo shoots tonight. Penny stomped her foot. I want bamboo shoots now, she whined. But her mom just smiled and said, Patience, Penny. Good things come to those who wait. Penny thought about it. Could she wait? She wiggled her nose at the smell of fresh bamboo shoots in the kitchen, but she remembered what her mom said. She grabbed the rake and started to work. After all that hard work, the yard was sparkling clean. You know what, though? It felt really good. And guess what? That extra helping of shoots tasted even sweeter because Penny had worked for it. That night, Penny learned that waiting for something good can actually make it even better. Yen.
Wow, Miles, awesome, man. Tell me, what other languages can you speak?
Well, thanks, man. Glad you liked it. I can manage a pretty decent conversation in Spanish, French, and German. Still working on my Klingon, though.
What about African languages?
Hey, so
I'm
Mr.
still learning.
Miles,
Creators
Mr.
working on
Mr.
Malcolm.
Miles and Malcolm. Yeah, I know
linguistic
that this
horizon.
conversation
I can-
won't end here. Can you hear me, Mr.
Guys,
Malcolm?
guys, that is AI
Yeah.
live. I
Yeah.
mean, it's
Absolutely
scary just how
wonderful.
responsive it
Still
is,
working
yeah?
on his Klingon.
Yeah, absolutely wonderful, man. And I hope whoever was watching, they've had that and they saw the benefits of having AI bots like Miles, man. So I'll create mine and call him Sakile. But
Sure.
yeah, so Mr. Miles, Malcolm, thank you so much. Together with Mr. Miles for joining us right here on the Vooka Breakfast Show. If anyone wants to reach out to you, to join programs or to learn more about AI, where can they find you?
I have shared the links with you guys, but if guys want to connect with me, I am active on LinkedIn. And you can also find, both personally on LinkedIn, but also on zibuza.net. So if you search there, you'll find us. And then we're also venturing into TikTok. So have a look out for that. We'll be doing more exciting things on TikTok as well. But guys, thank you so much for having me. I think, what I want to close with, Miles is in the US, a lot of these companies, right? But I think also on the continent and in South Africa, we also have an opportunity for us to develop AI for our needs, right? And I think that's something I'd want to say. You can upskill yourself for jobs, you can upskill yourself for entrepreneurship, but I think the greatest opportunity is also for us to build our own AI systems. And the technology is there. I'm seeing so many case studies of guys, just this week, 2 guys out of Limpopo built an AI system also to tutor kids and help them, with career pathways and stuff like that. So guys, our future is bright, man. I think Africa is sitting on something of great potential, but it's up to us in terms of how we're going to harness that.
Yeah, thank you so much, man, for your time. And we hope to have you next time together with Miles, just to get deep into, the AI world, So thank you so much, man.